Hey everybody, it's your girl Nell. How are you doing? And welcome to the Tiny Studio. How are you? How was your day? I had a type of day, a meh type of day. But guess what? We keep on rolling, don't we? Yes, we keep on pushing and keep on moving forward through our purpose. We don't let things get us down. And if they do get us down, we don't stay down for long, right? Exactly. What are you working on today? What did you bring with you to the tiny studio? Today I am working on my son Kyle and my future daughter-in-law Janae's Afghan. The last time you saw it, well, I'm going to show you the Afghan now, and it's a lot different than the last time you saw it. So here we go. Yep, this is the Afghan. So as you see, it has widened and I am still at it. You remember I took a break for a little bit, and I took a break because sometimes you lose your passion and you lose the mojo for a project and you just say, listen, I need to take a break and work on something else. And so that's what I did. I took a break, I worked on something else, and now I'm back. And I've been working on this for about nonstop, maybe for about a week or so. About a week or so. But I'm almost out of yarn, so guess what that means? That means that Janae and I are going to have to make a hobby, a hobby lobby run. Yes, we are. So I'm looking forward to that. Um, If you want to grab your work, you can grab your work, and I'll sit right here and I'll fiddle faddle with this yarn that I have, because the yarn, you know how sometimes you can get a skein of yarn and you can pull the yarn barf out and just crochet without a problem. Well, this particular skein of yarn, out of how many skeins have I used so far? Out of 8 skeins of yarn that I've been using on this project so far, I've only had one problem child, and this is it. This is the problem yarn. This is what happens when the yarn barf goes straight up rogue on you, goes Marlon Brando on you. It just turned into, as you see, it's like now it's in 2 different groups. just a hot mess. So I'm gonna do what I can, and what I cannot do, I'll probably cut, and then re you know how we do, because it's just, it can be frustrating when you run into issues with your skein of yarn, because things, the tangling situation, that's not what you want to go through. Tangle yarn while you're trying to work on a project, it's just ridiculous. I mean, it slows up the process and it makes you frustrated. It gets me irritated, and then I just want to do this. That's what I want to do to the skein of yarn. But guess what? Since you're here, I promise you won't have to send me to your favorite anger management specialist or therapist. I have this thing under control. So listen, today we're going to have a discussion, but it's basically going to be a review discussion. I don't want to call it a review, but do you watch Married to Medicine? It comes on OWN. It features the most beautiful African American doctors, female doctors, black women doctors and their spouses and spouses of doctors of color. It's a really, really great show. I've been watching it uninterrupted for 9 seasons. And so it's let me see. This is season 9, and we'll be talking about episode 3, which is the heavenly intervention or a heavenly intervention. I don't know the title of it. I just know it's heavenly intervention. One of the doctors on the show is named Dr. Heavenly Kimes, and this show is primarily about her. And it's really interesting, though, that the last 2 episodes of Married to Medicine has primarily been about Dr. Heavenly Kimes. So, Dr. Heavenly, I hope you're going to ask for that raise next season. Girl, pick up those coins, because the show is about you this season. And I mean, it's not you in a positive light, but it's still going to be all about you this season, right, girl? Pick up those coins next season. So, as I said, I watched Married to Medicine, and I've been watching it for 9 seasons straight. And this heavenly intervention thing, it stems from the fact that Dr. Heavenly Kimes has a YouTube channel. And on her YouTube channel, she talks about many different things. Dr. Kimes is a dentist, but she's also a real estate. She's also into a realtor. I think she's a broker as well. And she also has a brand new beauty salon, not a beauty salon, a beauty supply space down there up there in Atlanta. And she's doing pretty well for herself, which is a wonderful, wonderful thing. On her YouTube channel, she talks about all of those things. She talks about, how to be an entrepreneur, how to manage your money. She talks about relationships and all of those things. But what she does the best is review the show that she happens to star on. And I really enjoy that. I like it when Dr. Heavenly does it, gives us some background information and tea about the show because she's on it. And then I also like when Candy does it, when she does it for the Real Housewives of Atlanta, when she does Speak on It. When she does that, I really, really like it because she gives us a behind the scenes look, or she opens up the discussion of each episode. So I like it. I think it's a great thing. But there are certain people on Married to Medicine who do not think that Dr. Heavenly's Speak on It type of reviews is cool. They don't like it. And the reason why they don't like it is maybe because Dr. Heavenly tells the truth. But we'll get into that soon. I was going to say something else, but Married to Medicine is a really good show. This particular episode, I enjoyed it. What did I enjoy about it? Well, what I enjoyed was, I like how, let me think on it. Besides the heavenly intervention, Anila's nanny, Mrs. Gomez, left the family, and she let the kids know that that day was her last day and that she was leaving and never coming back. And I thought that was funny because when Mrs. Gomez told Anila's children, well, hey, I'm leaving, I'm going to Texas to be with my son and my children, and they say, when are you coming back? Mrs. Gomez said, never. She said, I'm leaving and I'm never coming back. It made me think for a moment. Why would Mrs. Gomez say that to the children in that way? I'm leaving and I'm never coming back. And I just want to throw this out here. It sounds like Mrs. Gomez has an issue with Anila. That's what I think. And when a grown up says, "I'm never coming back," to a child, to me it sounds like she she has some issues with Vanilla. That's what I think. I think that Mrs. Gomez used the fact that she has a child and she wants to move back to Texas and all that other stuff. And I'm not trying to say Mrs. Gomez is lying, but I also think Mrs. Gomez is probably like, I got to get the heck up out of here because this lady is getting on my nerves. That's what I think. When she said, "I'm leaving and I'm never coming back," I was like, what? Why would you tell this kid that? Or were you really saying that to the parents? Because trust me, there are some parents out here who are just horrible to their nannies and their housekeepers and their live-in help. And I would not be surprised if Mrs. Gomez has some stories to tell. And she probably has an NDA going on, so she probably won't be telling us anything anytime soon unless she wants to write a book and, make that, like a fiction book, where, the names are changed and some of the circumstances are changed and flipped around or whatever. But all I'm saying is when Mrs. Gomez said, "I'm leaving and I'm never coming back," I think that was more to Anila than the kids. But it was heartbreaking to see the children, crying and whatnot as Miss Gomez pulled off. It was really sad because, what people forget is that your live-in help or your housekeeper or your nanny, your cook, they provide a really, they provide not just a service to your household, but as far as for the children in the household, they become family of sorts. And you need to treat people should treat people should treat the I don't want to say the help, but people should treat those that they employ inside of their homes with dignity and respect. I wonder what Mrs. Gomez's story is. I guess we'll never know since she's never coming back. Um Toya and Eugene had an interesting conversation in this episode, and Eugene talks about how, he was completely, while he's thinking about, um, I'm guessing, switching careers because he's in emergency medicine, and he was saying that the pandemic was so stressful and traumatic that he's thinking about changing careers, changing the scenery around surrounding his career. I'm guessing. I don't know what he would want to do. He's in emergency medicine, so maybe he would want to go back to school and try something, take a few classes and learn how to do other things with his doctor, his MD career. Maybe he could get into family medicine or something like that, or begin to, perhaps open a clinic. Oh, that's a great idea. Open a clinic, a neighborhood clinic where people can come to if they have an emergency, such as, a child breaks their arm or somebody stubs a toe. Maybe that would be something great for Dr. Eugene to get into. I don't know. But I don't think he should quit that job though, because Miss Toya, you know, she gets bored easily. She gets bored easily and she can't find anything to do with her time. I just I hate to talk about a Detroit sister because Toya is from Detroit and I'm from Detroit as well, and I like to stick with my I like to stick with the Detroit crew, my Detroit family. But Toya, for the 9 seasons that Toya and Eugene have been on the show, the Bushes or the Harrises, are they? I think their last name is Harris. The 9 seasons that they've been on Married to Medicine, they've always had some type of financial problems going on, especially when it came to their housing situation. And you know, they were in a really bad place. They got out of it. They went ahead and um purchased land and built she built her dream home. She had like maybe a 2-story closet and everything, and it was just a really beautiful, beautiful home. And then the next year they're selling it. I don't even think they were in their home a full year until the next thing you know, they were selling it. And the reason that the Harrises gave on the reunion, the season A reunion, was that, you know, the market was hot and they wanted to, make a quick sale and, pocket the profits. But I thought this was your dream home, sis. Some that didn't make any sense to me, and that doesn't make a lot of sense to a great deal a great deal of viewers, because if you went through so many difficulties to begin to finally live your dream, why would you just dump your dream? And then you dump your dream, buy land to build your next dream house, and then you move down the street in another home. And you tell the viewers that you moved out of this home, your previous home, because it wasn't big enough? I thought your house was like 10,000 square feet. You said that house wasn't big enough for 2 children? You have 2 kids. You don't have what was the name of the old lady who lived in a shoe? You don't have that many children. You don't have that many children. You only have 2 boys. So you trying to tell me that 10,000 square feet is not enough room to raise 2 boys? But anyhow, that's what she said. So I don't know what the deal is on that. It's none of my business. But, if you put it on TV, then I'm going to have to, look at you cross-eyed and talk about it. But anyway, I thought that was interesting about Toya and Eugene, and I hope Eugene does find a career path that's going to, fulfill him, because I am sure that he's not the only doctor that is facing post-traumatic stress syndrome, because 2020 was a trip. It was a trip for patients, a trip for doctors and nurses and medical personnel, period, and also the families of the medical personnel and doctors and nurses that had to, deal with their loved ones coming home stressed and scared about this disease that was literally taking people's lives. So I can understand why Dr. Eugene is like, look, I need to find something else to do. And I hope he did. What else happened? Quad being a Muntie to her nephew. I thought that was cute, and I enjoyed that. And to be honest with you, I'm glad Quad is back in a full time capacity, because I remember when all that stuff was going on with Quad, Mariah, and then Quad, and Dr. G, and I was getting kind of fed up with Quad. I was getting to the point where, you know, Quad and Mariah could go. And so when she was just a friend to the show, I was like, okay, fine, because I've had enough. I really did. I had had enough of Quad. But this season she seems to be doing pretty well, and I'm glad she's here, because I think Dr. Heavenly's going to need her. um That takes us to Simone and her husband. I really don't fool with Simone. And the reason why Simone used to be my girl, but that whole situation that went down with Simone, Dr. Jackie, and Buffy, I ain't like it. I didn't like it at all. And I felt like Simone, I felt like she didn't have her friends back. I felt like she didn't have Dr. Jackie's back. And that whole Buffy situation, I just, I felt sorry for Buffy, but then when they started, when Dr. Jackie broke the fourth wall and started telling us what was going down with different aspects of the scene, I just felt like, I just felt like Buffy was, and I don't want to be poo pooing somebody else's pain and tragedy, but I'm just going to say this: Buffy was not a good fit for the show. And what she tried to do to Dr. Jackie, it's not cool. It's not cool at all. So I thought Buffy would have been a really good addition, but then when they got stuck on that whole "you told my medical business to the world" stuff, I just had to let it go. I was like, I'm done. I'm really done. I don't want to I don't want to be bothered with it anymore. And I was kind of glad they got rid of Buffy. But with Dr. Simone or whatever, I guess Buffy said that she chose not to come back. Whatever. Whatever. I just felt like the energy was all wrong. Um as far as Simone, like I said, I really don't fool with Simone at all. And I don't want to say that Simone's a flip flopper, because, like Dr. Heavenly says, because I don't think Simone's a flip flopper. Um, I think Simone just plays a certain role. And I think that after a few seasons of the situation with her and her husband, I can't think of her husband's name right now. I think after a few seasons of that situation with she and her husband almost, divorcing, and um, some other circumstances, I just feel like sometimes I feel like Dr. Simone is over it. I do. I don't even know why Dr. Simone is still on the show, because it just seems like she really don't want to be there. I don't know if she's on the show because she want to continue to get a check, which is probably it too. The money's probably good. I just feel like I don't know why she's there. And I would not feel any kind of way if Simone said that the ninth season is my last season. You know? I don't think she's a flip flopper. I just think that she's over the show. That's all. Um, so we talked about Anila, right? We talked about Toya and Eugene. We talked a little bit. Oh yeah, so Dr. Simone and her husband, they met up with Omarosa, and they were talking to Omarosa about, I guess, about their book, the book that she and her husband are Dr. Simone and her husband are putting together. It's supposed to be a relationship book. So that's what she and Omarosa were talking about. I wasn't really paying attention. I wasn't really paying attention because I'm not really an Omarosa fan either. So, I think I went to the bathroom when that scene came on. Um, and then we get to the good part, y'all. And that is the heavenly intervention. Now, as I said before, Dr. Heavenly has a YouTube channel and she reviews the show. So on the channel, she allows for her subscribers to ask questions. And last season on the show, well, for the past 2 or 3 seasons, Dr. Contessa and her husband, Dr. Scott, they've been going through some marital issues, and the words infidelity has floated around. And from the way production set it up and presented it to us, the viewers, it seemed like to us that Dr. Scott is abusive. And, Dr. Heavenly maybe, well, let me do this. There is a question from a subscriber, and the subscriber asks, ask Dr. Heavenly, does she think that Dr. Scott is abusive to Dr. Contessa? And Dr. Heavenly said, yes, I do believe that that Scott is abusive to Dr. Contessa. And she said it's not physically, but of course verbally, and other things. So when she said that, I agree. And I agree that whenever you gaslight somebody, whenever you play around with people's heads, that's abuse. It's mental and emotional abuse. Now, they may not put their hands on you, but the punch is a mental punch. It's a punch to your mind, to your intellect, and a punch to your heart. And that's abuse. And there were episodes where we saw Dr. Scott engaging in what I would call forms of mental, verbal, and emotional abuse. Now, I said it. Okay? I said it. That's just me, the viewer, watching. I don't know what goes on in their home, in their house. I don't know what goes on. But from what Dr. Contessa allowed us to see, she allowed us to see her husband gaslighting her, her husband talking to her any old kind of way, her husband yelling at her, slamming doors on her, all kind of stuff, her husband making her believe or leading her to believe that he's having an affair with somebody. That's what Scott was doing. And when the subscriber asked Dr. Heavenly what she thought, and did she think it was abuse, and Dr. Heavenly said yes, that is what pissed Contessa off, I think, or really pissed her husband off. Because I don't think this whole Heavenly intervention has anything to do with what Dr. Heavenly says or doesn't say on her YouTube channel. What I really think this is about a husband who's once again gaslighting his wife, making his wife believe that it's not him that's causing the problems in their marriage. It's really Dr. Heavenly that's causing problems in their marriage. And that is emotional abuse. And I'm just telling it to you straight. Whenever you sit back and you try to manipulate people, and you tell your husband or your wife or your boyfriend or your girlfriend that the problem is not you, the problem is them. And whenever you have a situation like that, and the other person, no, the problem is not me, the problem is you, and then they manipulate you, play with words. Okay, play with your emotions to make you believe that you're the problem. That's abuse. If you didn't know that, you learned it here in the tiny studio. That is abuse. Okay, so what I really think is that Contessa, even though she was in the army and she worked out and she got muscles and she do this, that, and the other, I think Contessa is weak. And I really believe that this season shows us how weak Contessa is, because she is allowing her husband to once again manipulate her, gaslight her into having this intervention. Because I don't think that Contessa came up with this situation by herself. I don't think she came up with this as a storyline by herself. I think her husband helped her and gassed her up to have this storyline, which is a storyline that's basically attacking Heavenly for supposedly talking about her marriage in public. Dr. Heavenly only talked about what all of us viewers were talking about. Now, here's the thing. This is where it can become kind of problematic. If you're reviewing your own show, and like Dr. Heavenly is, and yes, you have friends, real friends on the show, and as you review the show and you give your commentary, sometimes your commentary can be hurting. It can be like needle pricks on the skin, you know? And Dr. Heavenly, she's going to have to learn to, when she's talking on her YouTube channel and she's talking about her friends and she's reviewing the episode of her show, she may want to ease up on the commentary just a little bit, even though she said in her rebuttal after the episode aired that she was not going to ease up on her commentary. She might want to ease up a little bit. Just a little bit, because Dr. Heavenly is very blunt. So at this so-called intervention, Contessa puts together a whole montage of Dr. Heavenly, Dr. Heavenly's YouTube channel. Dr. Heavenly talking about Contessa, Dr. Heavenly talking about Quad, Dr. Heavenly talking about Dr. Jackie's husband Curtis, Dr. Heavenly talking about Toya, of course. Dr. Heavenly talking about everybody. I mean, sure, according to Dr. Heavenly, everybody can get it. Everybody. But Contessa said that, listen, what you say on your YouTube channel affects my family. It affects my marriage. I have children. I have children. What you say affects my children, affects my kids. And Dr. Heavenly, which I felt was very interesting. Dr. Heavenly said, so wait a minute, you want to really do this? You want to do this right here in front of the cameras? I thought that was interesting. I knew that Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Contessa were friends in real life. And so Dr. Heavenly said that, Dr. Contessa had months to confront her about whatever it is that she was feeling about Heavenly's YouTube channel. She said, but she didn't. She, they had a situation, a mini falling out over a conversation that they had, but they got back together. Dr. Contessa came to Alora's birthday sweet 16 party, and she and Dr. Heavenly started talking again, and it was as if the relationship was back on track. But then Dr. Heavenly said, all of a sudden, I discover that Contessa's not talking to me, and I find out Dr. Contessa's not talking to me. She's supposedly mad at me, but this only happened once the camera started rolling. And I have to say, you know, if Dr. Contessa was really upset with Dr. Heavenly, why didn't she approach her in private and tell her? Why did she have to turn this into a whole situation? Because we, the public, once Married to Medicine goes off the air, we're not really thinking about it. So once the reunion aired, we didn't think anything more about Contessa and Scott and their marriage. We didn't think anything else about them. So I'm just really perplexed about the whole situation. And I know that Dr. Heavenly probably felt bad about saying that Kwai was sleeping with married men, and I know she regrets some of the things that she said about Dr. Simone and Dr. Simone's husband and that whole fiasco that went down a couple of seasons ago. And I know she felt bad about that. She does not feel bad about talking about Toya, though, for some reason. She says she doesn't feel bad about that. But, I don't know. And then on Instagram, Dr. Contessa had the nerve to say, how can you be mad at me? How could you get mad at me for me being mad at you for something that you did? And then Scott was in the comment section talking. That's why I said that I believe Scott is behind all of this. And that, to me, that makes Dr. Contessa look weak as fuck. Did I say that? It does. It makes her look weak. Because like Dr. Heavenly said in her rebuttal, you sat there on the phone with me, you dragged your husband. Dragged him. Dr. Scott wasn't shit to you. And now all of a sudden, everything crappy that you said about your husband, or that you made the viewers believe about your husband, now here comes the new season, and you want to say, but the persona, that the things that you said about me and my marriage on your YouTube channel, that's the problem. What kind of a friend is that? And I just have to ask Dr. Contessa this. When you signed up for reality TV, you signed up to talk about your life. But listen, there are a lot of actors on reality TV. Go over there to Real Housewives of Atlanta and that Drew girl. Look at her. She's clearly acting. So you didn't have to bring up your marriage to the viewers. You didn't have to tell us how bad Dr. Scott was treating you. Okay, you didn't have to do that, but you did. You showed all of the ugliness of your marriage. Okay, that's what you did. Dr. Heavenly don't have anything to do with that. That was you, sis. So what you're saying is, whenever you tell the truth on the television, on your show, you don't want anybody else to have commentary. You don't want Dr. Heavenly to have any type of commentary on it. I mean, that's like telling Candy that she needs to shut down her show, that she needs to shut down Speak on it, that she needs to shut down her show. Okay, because that's what Candy does. Candy gives a rundown of the show of Real Housewives of Atlanta. So What are you saying, Dr. Contessa? Are you saying that Dr. Heavenly shouldn't do a review of Married to Medicine? I don't understand it. It really doesn't make sense to me. But you know what does make sense to me? What makes sense to me is that Dr. Scott didn't like the reception that he got last season. That's what sounds good to me. What sounds good to me is that Dr. Scott didn't like the way he looked on TV last season. That's what it says to me. It says to me that Dr. Scott told Dr. Contessa that the reason why he looks bad is because of Dr. Heavenly. And so what did he do? He broke up the relationship that Dr. Contessa had with Dr. Heavenly, and then did some uba on Dr. Contessa's head and made her think that Dr. Heavenly is the reason for her marital problems and the way her marriage looks like crap on TV. She wants to blame Dr. Heavenly for that. I say, don't blame Dr. Heavenly, but blame yourself, sis. Blame you. You and your hubby. You two did that. Dr. Heavenly did not do that. But I think this is all manipulation. Now, I was wondering if this is manipulation for a storyline or is this a manipulation as a get back. And I think it's both. I think that Dr. Scott is the one that put Contessa up to this. I think that Contessa set Dr. Heavenly up, trying to act like, oh, excuse me. Oh, you're my friend. You're my friend. You're my best friend. I love you. I love you. You know how Dr. Contessa do. I love you. I love you, my friend. You're my friend. You're my friend. You're my friend. And then when the cameras got ready to start rolling, then Dr. Contessa talked to the producer and said, you know what? Guess what? Heavenly is on my do-do list. And so guess what? I'm going to be getting Heavenly together this season in season 9. Season 9, you just watch. This is going to be this is going to be the season where I'm going to get Heavenly back for not just for ruining my marriage and trying to tear my marriage apart, but I'm also going to get Toya over here to join me. Because Heavenly really goes in on Toya, so I'm going to get Toya to back me up. And I'm going to get Simone too. Dr. Simone, I'm going to get her too. Now, you already know good and well that Contessa and Toya do not get along. They don't even like each other. They haven't liked each other for the past 4 seasons. So what's that all about? So that's why I'm saying, I'm like, I don't understand it. I don't really understand why. Well, listen, that's a lie. I just lied to you. I do understand. This whole Heavenly intervention thing, or this thing that Dr. Contessa is doing to Dr. Heavenly, which is probably going to play out throughout the entire season. I think this is just a smokescreen to get us off of Contessa and Scott's marriage. I think this is also a situation where an abusive man, I said it, and if I now want to throw this in here, an allegedly abusive man to his wife, I think this is a way for him to get back at the person who was the closest to his wife, which was Contessa. Do you understand what I'm saying? When men or husbands who show abusive tendencies, what they do is they try to put a wedge between the person that's trying to help the wife, the friend. It could be a friend, a family member, whatever. They put a wedge right between them and the wife. And Dr. Heavenly was really trying to help Dr. Contessa. And Contessa knows that. She knows that, even though she's over on Instagram talking about, oh no, and I won't make that mistake again and let my friend take advantage of me. Yeah, I won't let that happen again. Even though she's over there talking big stuff, she really being manipulated. And let me tell you something. When I saw Dr. Scott commenting under that thread, I knew right away. I knew right then what the deal was. I knew right then. Because that's how some men are. Some men like to disrupt a relationship between two women if one of those women is trying their best to help the wife. Because Dr. Heavenly said, look, girl, you can do better. You can do better. You don't have to take that crap. You're a doctor. You're beautiful. You're young. You can do better. I mean, what husband wants to hear that? Don't no husband want to hear that. The husband does not want to hear that. They do not want their wives, the person that they have control over, they don't want them to hear that. They don't want the outsider to be encouraging the person that they're trying to control. They don't want them. What do you mean you can do better? No, she can't. No, she can't do better than me. No, I told her she can't. It's really sad how this works out. It's really sad, but that's my opinion. That's what I think about it. I don't think this has anything to do with Heavenly. I think this all has to do with Dr. Scott. What do you think? Now I could be, I could be wrong. I don't know. But that's what I think about it. Because to say that Dr. Heavenly is the cause of your marital problems, and then Dr. Heavenly said that during the argument, Dr. Contessa brought her kid, one of her children, downstairs to the theater room and kept saying, look, I have a family. You're destroying my family. You're destroying my family. Nah, girl, nah. Dr. Heavenly is not destroying your family. You destroyed your family by getting on TV and telling us all your business. Okay? If you did not want the world to know that you were having marital issues with your husband, you should not have got on television and told us. When you got on television and told us, and Dr. Heavenly reviewed the episode, you should have just took it for what it was. Now, we could talk about Dr. Heavenly and ask the question, since she and Dr. Contessa were so close, should she have really talked about the marriage in the way that she did, which was, letting us know that she had told Dr. Contessa, look, stop dragging your husband. If you still want him, fight for the marriage. If you don't, let him go, but stop talking about it. I mean, listen, I've said that too to people. I have. I have said to people the exact same thing. And that's just a general thing. Why are you complaining about your job? Stop complaining about your job and find another one. Stop complaining about your boyfriend or your girlfriend. There are how many billions of people on this planet? Find you another one. You know, I know you may say, well, that's so simple. That is not really as simple as it sounds. But in reality, if you're miserable, yeah, it is just that simple. I said it. It really is just that simple. But it's all about perspective, I would say. It's all about perspective and how you see things. You may feel that something that's really simple is a large situation or a difficult situation. And I'm on the outside and I'm saying, look, girl, the door is open. The door is unlocked. All you gotta do is turn the knob and you can set yourself free. And it could be a situation where, from your perspective, the doorknob is on fire and you don't want to touch it because you don't want to get burned for whatever reason. And I'm saying, girl, the doorknob is not on fire and the door is unlocked. Just turn the knob and walk out. You know, sometimes it's our perspective on things that, you know, colors our judgment on really important issues regarding love and marriage and relationships and all of those things, you know. But we shall see what's getting ready to happen with Dr. Heavenly and Dr. Contessa and all the other doctors and see what they, how they react to what's happening, because I know Quad and Anila, they were not, and Dr. Jackie, they was not, they were not down with the intervention. Even Quad was like, look, if you wanted to make a point, the way you did it was ineffective. And like Dr. Heavenly said, if you really had a problem with me, we could have went out to dinner, we could have went out to lunch in private, and we could have talked about it. And I agree with Dr. Heavenly. If that was the situation, Dr. Contessa, and you were really hurt and concerned about your family, why didn't you take your friend, who your friend says, that she loves you and you say you love her, why didn't you take her out to lunch or dinner somewhere and say, look, Heavenly, I want you to stop really, when you do your commentary or review on the show, I want you not to really get too in depth about what's going on with me and my husband. Okay? I think you need to do that for our friendship. Why didn't you say that, Contessa? Why is this now a storyline? I don't understand it. But we shall see what happens next. I'm interested to find out. How about you? All right, then. It's been about 53 minutes, almost an hour of chatting with you here in the tiny studio. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm still crocheting along as usual, and I hope that you were able to get somewhere while you were, maybe you were knitting or crocheting or, doing some type of craft while you were listening to me give my little review of Married to Medicine. I'm not really good with reviews. I try, but I'm not really good with it. I'm not really good at it, I mean. I try, but maybe the thing is I just get, a little emotional. That's what my best friend says. Why you get all emotional over this reality TV? I'm like, girl, I don't know. Maybe because I be stuck in this tiny studio and have no life. outside of this tiny studio. Maybe that's it. I don't know. But I will be watching Married to Medicine. I will continue to watch. And if you would like, I will continue to provide some emotional reviews of Married to Medicine because I really like that show. And that's one show that I do faithfully watch each season that it comes on. Well, thank you so much for hanging out with me today in the tiny studio. I hope to see you back next time for another episode of Simply Nell's Tiny Studio. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you have not already subscribed to the channel, then what is your delay? Go ahead and subscribe to Simply Nell's Tiny Studio so that you'll be notified each time I'm sending an invitation to you to join me here in the tiny studio. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and I'll catch you later on the flip side. Bye-bye.